Okay, so this is part 2 of the conversation I just had, and these videos are gonna be, like, partnered back together. This is narcissism or the narcissistic societal norm versus realm X. So this is where things get fun. This is where things get be open-minded. So when I was studying narcissism and what society allowed and what it didn't allow, what it weeded out and threw away and what it didn't weed out, I was noticing that the things that were being rejected, that narcissistic stamp of approval that did not meet the narcissistic stamp of approval, what ended up happening was there was this massive amount of things that were just thrown away. And you see this a lot. Well, I'm just going to be very blunt. You see this in Republican conformist communities where it's very much narcissistic dominant. And there's a lot of, oh, I can't control you with that, so I'm going to throw it away. And if it can't meet that stamp of approval, and this is not a political thing, do not come back and scream about, well, I've known plenty of Democrats who are narcissistic. That's not it. Yes, you are correct. But on the conformist, nonconformist spectrum, you see this most in the Republican. I think Republican is most conformist. Democratic is least or is less conformist, but it's like right next to it. They're neighbors. And then you've got this spectrum way over here, the liberals. Well, not liberals. I hate using the word liberal because there's like 30 definitions of liberal. It's when you get into nonconformists. I'm just going to say nonconformists. So you have nonconformists on this side of the spectrum, and then you have Republican on this side of the spectrum, and then right under Republican, you have Democrat. So this is not a whole, no, we're not getting into politics. It's just an example. That being, let's throw that out for a minute. Now, when you have that, whatever doesn't meet that narcissistic stamp of approval gets thrown away, usually over here and to that other side of the spectrum. And that's where I live because that's where things are chill and I'm safe and the narcissism has been cleared out. Once you get into nonconformity, you'll notice that there's a lot of narcissism that just kind of falls away because this is great. This is what I love about nonconformity is narcissists can't control nonconformity. They can't. So it's like you can, there you go. This is what I need to say. Most narcissists are conformists. But not all conformists are narcissists. I'm going to say that again. Most narcissists are conformists, but not all conformists are narcissists. I'm just going to write that out because it just keeps, and then I'll read it because I do better that way. So most narcissists are non-conformists, but not all. Oh, I see. That's where I'm messing up. Okay. So most narcissists are conformists, but not all conformists are narcissists. And that's what I'm trying to say is I don't see things as Republican, Democrat. I don't see them as religious, non-religious. For me, it's conformist or nonconformist. And how you define conformity depends upon where you are in the world. And that's really it. And again, it's a spectrum. It's not black and white. You can be anywhere on the spectrum of conformist and nonconformist. It does not mean that you're way over here and way over there. Not everybody is an extremist. For instance, I'm an animal rights activist. I don't know if I'm an activist or if I'm just an ally. I'm definitely not an ally. I'm more than that. But I'm not PETA either. PETA is your extreme animal rights. Extreme. And I have a problem with PETA. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. Like, get off that. Don't go there. But that's an example of your black and white. Okay. And the world is not divided between the dog fighters of the world and PETA. That doesn't work. That's not how things are. And really, that's a great example. Because in that black and white thinking, there's an either or mentality, either or attitude. Either you're a dog fighter or you're PETA. And then the other 90% of the world is going, well, yeah, but I'm neither. You just eliminated 90% of the world because I'm neither a dog fighter nor am I PETA. And that's the problem with black and white thinking. So it's not narcissist, empath. No, no, most of us are like right here. You do have the occasional really extreme, grandiose narcissist who has the switch turned on in their brain all the time. And you do have the occasional empath who is solid, completely 100% empath and doesn't have a drop of narcissism in them. But that doesn't mean there isn't a spectrum. So that being said, same thing with conformity. You have the conformists and the nonconformists, and it's a spectrum. In the research I've done, in my life experience, and I'm going to remind you that everything in life is simply our ability to perceive it. It's our experience. So that being said, this is full opinion. I have noticed that the majority of conformists are narcissists because conformity gives narcissists the ability to stamp of approval. They can do that. That society and that culture allows them to do that. Conformity enables the narcissist. See, I got to write this down. Just give me a second here. I get these things that I say, and it's just so spot on, but then I can never remember them afterwards. So I'm learning how to write this stuff out, but not all conformists are narcissists. So see, and again, I just said it, and I'm going, what did I just say? Right. Conformity provides the narcissist. That's not what I said. So I'll think about it a little bit more. But that's just it. Is the narcissist basically it caters the conformity provides the narcissist with almost their ideal environment so they can control. So a lot of narcissists gravitate to conformity for this. So that's it. Conformity provides the narcissist with their ideal scenarios. It really does allow them to home and groom a world that they want exactly as they want it. Now, the empath, the narcissist's victim, seeks to break out of that. Once they reach that level of growth, they seek to break out of it. They seek to expand their knowledge. They seek to enable the identity or the self. And that's really it. An empath, healed empath, seeks to enable and nurture the self because they've lived in a society or a situation where they have seen what happens when somebody does not have the right to choose, when they see that narcissism. So they value it more. So the the empath tends to lean toward nonconformity, where they're allowed to celebrate the self. So that's really it is conformity destroys the self, whereas nonconformity celebrates the self. Again, it's a spectrum. It's not black and white. And it's really important that you figure out where on this spectrum you fall. Now, we in the last videos talked about narcissists and how everything was the stamp of approval. And there were certain things that did not meet the stamp of approval, so it was rejected. I'm talking about the Age of Enlightenment in the 16th century. There was a lot that was done there where basically the narcissistic society we had came along and said, ooh, this is not allowing me to control the people that I want. This is not allowing me to do A, B, C. So I'm going to typecast it, label it, and throw it away. When they do that, there are things that are being rejected. Now, here we are in the 21st century, and I'm studying psychology, and I've maxed out everything that I could possibly think of on psych. And I'm in the research stage mode. And now I'm at a point where I can sit down every morning and I can do my body scan. I can locate, okay, these are the emotions I'm having. This is what it means. Boom, boom, boom. In 5 minutes, I'm all set for the day. And there are days where yesterday was a great example of this. I had severe upset in the morning, and I was able within 5 minutes to go, this is not psych. This is realm X. I need to go take care of realm X. And I have noticed more and more so that realm X is becoming a massive feature in my life because I've got the psych all straightened out. The psych is fixed. And I'm going, okay, if the psych is fixed, And I'm having all these feelings. Where are these other feelings coming from? And it's not, it's intuition. It's, it's, well, it's realm X. So I then step into realm X. I take in all the elements from that. I examine it. I weigh decisions. I decide. And then I basically diagnose and I execute. And I locate, oh, there's the problem. And today I wake up, I feel grounded, I feel healed, I feel whole, and I'm going, wow. So yesterday was definitely a realm X day. So now today can be a psych day. Today I can focus on my work. But I had to take care of realm X yesterday in order for me to ground myself here. It was quite extraordinary to watch and feel how it flexes. And the more I do research on this and the more I embrace it, the more I realize, and this is the point of this video, is there are two sides to this coin. People think because we threw this out in the 16th century that the only thing credible is psychology, and even then psychology wasn't allowed until like the 1800s, and even then it wasn't anything half as decent until the 90s, and then psychology got another upgrade in the year 2000, around 2000, and people went, whoa, okay, so maybe psychology is legit. And it was amazing because I was there in 2000 when I watched the shift. I was there in the 80s when it was going on. In the 80s, psychology was basically blacklisted and by the narcissists. Our society, narcissism, looked at it and said, oh, I don't like that. Get rid of that. And they labeled it. They came up with words like quack or head shrink or head doctor. And they came up with these derogatory labels for anyone who dabbled or considered psychology or who needed a therapist. And it was very much that societal attitude of, oh, yeah, that stuff. Yeah, that's it. And it's because it threatens the narcissist. If it threatens the narcissist, they're going to ban it from our society and give it labels so it doesn't threaten their control. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And we see that over and over and over again. I'm gonna just put here, like, because I can't remember what I said, but I need to go back to that. So 1208. But that's it right there. Is the narcissist gets to a point where it steps back from itself and it says, "Oh, that's threatening us. We need to throw it away." Now, in the 90s, things shifted. And then we got to the year 2000, it shifted again. And yeah, it was around 2009, 2010. There was another psychological shift, a big one. And suddenly the entire psych world went, whoa, this stuff is legit. And now psychologists have always taken it serious, but it wasn't accepted by society, by the common man. I remember hearing my parents bash psychology in the 80s and 90s because it threatened them, because it wasn't credible to them. It wasn't believable. It was garbage to them. And then I remember, and it wasn't just my parents, it was everybody. It was watching a television show and someone makes a comment in the show of, oh yeah, he's going to a head shrink. It's the comments. Comments are such a big deal. When you see a comment being made in the news, when you see a comment being made in a book, when you see a comment being made on a post, when you see a comment being made by a fictional character in a TV show, that comment reflects the overall societal mentality that is. And this is one of my favorite examples. I'm watching the show Breaking Bad for the first time. Let's talk about the patriarchy. Let's talk about the attitude that women are second-class citizens and are treated like flaky idiots. What is his name? I cannot remember his name. He's the DEA brother-in-law of the main character.
Hank.
Thank you. Hank. Hank is the biggest misogynistic piece of crap ever. And he is the embodiment of the patriarchy. He is the embodiment of the, I'm an arrogant, conceited, narcissistic, controlling jackass. And I'm going to put down my wife and treat her like garbage. And you see it in the first season, especially when he grabs her ass like she's garbage. You see him, the way he treats her. And then she's off doing her thing, stealing, being a klepto. She's struggling with her mental health. And I'm watching him put her down through the whole first season, and I'm just like, he's a piece of I'm sorry, he's a piece of shit. And it's because he very much encompasses and represents the accepted norm of the patriarchy treating his white man, treating his white wife like she's garbage, which is what I was raised in. So, yeah, maybe I am speaking of a trauma standpoint of looking into it, going, oh, I can relate to that because I experienced it. But it's the norm. And we see it in so much of our television. The problem is when you see it in television being normalized, it changes the way you think about it. So you become desensitized to it. So I'm watching Breaking Bad because I'm aware I don't have this problem. But before I was aware, that turned into conditioning in my into my subconscious. Watching shows like Oh my god, great example is, The Walking Dead, 1st season, Carol. Great example. I remember the first time I watched it, I didn't see it. First time I watched it, I was a domesticated slave. I was living Carol's life. So I was sitting in Carol's position, watching Carol go through what Carol was going through with her piece of shit husband and going, "Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's normal. Yeah." Because I was desensitized to it. And there it was being depicted on media, showing me, look, this is normal. This is what you're supposed to do because this is what everybody else does. Now you can argue with me, well, wait, Shane stepped in and the girls defended her. And that was weird to me. I didn't understand it. And it wasn't until now, while I watched Walking Dead, and I mean, I rewatched it, and I think I've watched it like 10 times. As I rewatched it, I was becoming more and more educated, more and more aware. This is where, as I watched the show, this is where my healing took place. This is amazing. My healing was parallel with the show Walking Dead. This is funny. I have stories about this. I'm gonna get into this because this is hilarious. So let's jump ahead to season 6. I was about a year into my healing when I finally stepped into a year or two into my healing when I stepped into season 6 and it got to Negan. I was doing really well. I was doing great. My sensitivity was coming back. I still was not aware that I was a domesticated slave, but I was becoming aware. I was becoming like I was finally stepping out of the box and I could start to see things as they really were. And then Negan happened and Greg's exit. And I called up my therapist hysterical right after, like the next day, sobbing. And I was just shaking. And she did an emergency session with me. And I explained to her what I had seen. And she stops me in the middle of my explanation and she says this to me: "What is up with that show?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "My phone went off the hook last night. Like everyone was blowing it up because they had watched the show." That's right. According to my therapist and several other psychologists of the time period, when season 6 finale came out in Walking Dead, it traumatized psych patients to the point where they blew up their psychologists' phones. And I was one of them. And she went, I had so many people like calling me up hysterical because of the show. And she said to me, "Do not trust directors with your mental health." I'm going to write that down. Do not trust TV directors with your mental health. It was a game changer for me. I walked away from that going, oh, I need to not trust. I can't remember her name. Angela Walker? I can't remember her name. Angela Wing? I can't remember her name. But I was trusting her with my mental health. I was trusting that she was going to give me material that I was going to be okay with. I stopped trusting her that day. And I stopped watching the show for a solid 6 months. But during those 6 months, I saw a baseball bat and I would start breaking down hysterical crying. I couldn't look at a baseball bat. Thank you, Negan. I couldn't hear whistling. I still can't hear whistling. Whistling is difficult for me because I have such positive memory with my grandfather and I have Negan now in my head. So when I hear that, and it's this tune exactly, and they did it again with season 7 when you see what they did to Daryl with his torture saying. I can't watch that. I cannot. I watched it one time and it was actually watching Daryl's torture was worse. Oh, the dog food. That makes sense now. Was worse than watching Glenn's death. And it was absolutely traumatizing for me, and I could break down the psych and how my vegetarianism played into it, how my own torture experience and what I was subjected to and my own imprisonment was very much reflected, like, I could see. I lived his life in that little dark closeted room naked. I've been there. It was way too similar. So, yeah, the whole thing set me off. But the point is, what is the point? The point, right. We watch television and we absorb these societal norms into our brains, going, oh, yeah, that's normal. Oh, the show. You're not going to like this. The show, Shameless. The show Shameless. My daughter just started watching Shameless, and I'm not happy about it. She's 15, so she's at that age where she needs to explore her own identity and her own likes and dislikes. So I respect her freedom to watch the show, but I made it very clear I don't approve. Now, my daughter, who's sitting here, is, and I know she's doing this. When she watches the show, she's analyzing it, looking for the patriarchy. She's probably looking for narcissism. In fact, she told me this morning that she does not like one of the characters. Why don't you like the character?
Because he's a woman hater.
Because he's a woman hater, because he's a misogynist. That's exactly the point. Now, I won't watch the show because I know that the show, Shameless, completely encompasses our societal norms. And I don't want that conditioning because I want to stay sensitized
I thought
to
would
it.
do like the Walking Dead thing where it would like slowly go out of it, and I wanted to see them snap, and that Frank would be like, Frank, stop it.
Yeah, no, it's not. If anything, it gets worse. But you do you learn, and you look. She has to learn how to shield her own television viewing. She has to learn how to shield her own, do her own filters, and this is how you do it. I have to give her the freedom to learn and burn, basically. And then I pick her up. I come for her. Yes, maybe you should watch a show like Shameless. But that all being said, she's actually turning it into a positive by watching the show and then going, I don't like this guy. He's a misogynist. He's a woman hater. Very good. Very good. You can see it. So she's actually applying, taking the show in, and she's thinking, because I taught her philosophy. We're back to that. I'm going to say that a lot. So that all being said, when you watch a television show, look for it, be mindful of it, be aware of it, that you're actually you're desensitizing yourself to inappropriate patriarchal narcissistic conditioning, and you're also in addition to desensitizing yourself to it, you're also allowing them to insert the subconscious programming into your psyche, which is altering you to go, oh yeah, that's acceptable, and it normalizes it. And this is huge, when you normalize misogyny or any kind of gender hating, when you normalize racism, when you normalize domestic violence, when you normalize female domestic slavery, that you then cover it up and say, oh, they're just married. Look at the situation, examine it. By the way, if you want to know, Carol's situation, I love doing this. I love doing this. This is my favorite thing in the world. So Carol had Stockholm syndrome, and she was a female domesticated slave. And she kept going back to that piece of shit human being who kept beating her the way he did, because she had Stockholm syndrome. It's very common that female domesticated slavery also is partnered with Stockholm syndrome, where they idolize their narcissistic captor. By the way, if you are if you are a domesticated slave at all, there is a really high probability that your partner is a narcissist, slaving you to control the environment so they can manipulate. You are most likely an empath who is their selected victim, and you're being subjected to it. And they've conditioned you so well through your subconscious, because it's your subconscious that has sided with them, which is why you keep going back. Your subconscious idolizes your narcissist abuser. So you keep going back. You keep going back. You keep making excuses for him. This is the cycle. This is narcissistic abuse syndrome. And Stockholm syndrome is part of narcissistic abuse syndrome. So there's a lot of things like that playing into it. There's a lot of it playing into it. That all being said, if you choose to watch the shows, be aware of it. Protect your mind. And my clients, I tell them, I strongly recommend they don't watch them, because they need to sensitize themselves again. They need to increase their awareness. They need to increase the sensitivity. My therapist put me through it, and I was mad because I love war movies. I love war movies. And I had watched every one of them from Tora, all the way up to Apocalypse Now. I love war movies. And when my therapist learned this about me, she said to me, Anna, no, we're going to cut everything down, and you really need to focus on no television after 1950s and certainly no war movies. And I went, but MASH, I'm a huge masher. I'm like, with MASH. And she goes, no, no, no. I did it, kicking and screaming, but I did it. And then Walking Dead came out. Actually, I got to figure this out because I did go through it. It was after Negan. And then it was a short time after Negan. I did the 6-month span, and then I went back again. And when I went back again, I think I watched it for 2 more seasons, and then I just cut it off for like 5 years. And during that 5-year gap, I did limit all my television viewing to non-graphic, simple shows. And I do mean I watch nothing but I Love Lucy, things like that for that time period. And because I increased my sensitivity. And when I did that, I was able to like pull information in differently. I was able to process information differently. Sensitization is such a huge part of healing, and it's not easy to do. So that media and the television, fiction television and the news are the 3 big things. Social media, news, fiction television. Those 3 things are the biggest violators of supplanting. I'm going to use the word supplanting, of supplanting societal narcissism into your subconscious. Be aware of that. It's huge. And I'm going to mark that as 2652 because I'm not going to type all that out, but I need to come back to bookmark this. So that being said, where all this comes in now with Realm X is basically empaths are finding sanctuary in Realm X because narcissists don't go there, because narcissists can't go there. Because to go there, the first thing you have to do is say, I was wrong. And narcissists don't use that word. The second thing they have to say is, maybe there's something I can learn from this. And narcissists don't do that. The other thing they have to say is, I might be able to learn something from this. And they don't say that either. So you almost will never pursue Realm X. It's like a sanctuary for the empath. And it's great. And I've seen this so much where an empath will go into that area and they'll be like, wow, there's no narcissists here. But they haven't figured it out yet. They haven't figured it out yet. Now, don't get me wrong. Occasionally there's a narcissist that sneaks in because they're using it to manipulate. But and yeah, I have terms for those. They are still there, but they're very, very, very rare. They're very low key. So that being said, I have branched off. This is it, by the way. This is the announcement that I'm making. I have branched off from psychology. I'm still doing psychology. That is still the forefront. It's still the primary thing. But Realm X is a huge part of this. Realm X is the left shoe to my right shoe. And what I'm noticing is in our society, especially in our patriarchal conformist society, we're being forced to fix an identity problem with one of our 2 shoes, with one of our 2 legs. And that's psychology. And that's it. And we've ignored Realm X because the narcissists don't like that. And empaths who have been injured, some of them have found their way into Realm X and they are going, wow, but most of the people who walk into Realm X aren't psychologists. In fact, almost none of them are, because the people who study psychology are usually so scientific that they won't touch Realm X. And at the same time, 2 of my therapists were very much involved in Realm X, but they kept it on the low and they keep it quiet because they don't want to be ostracized by narcissists. Because if they're working with a narcissist, because if there is a narcissist around, they're going to get labeled a lot. They get slandered. So I am just one more psychologist who's dabbling in realm X going, this is the other half of this. You might, and I loved my last therapist. She was so wonderful with this because she embraced both sides. In fact, yeah, she very much. And I was already in realm X. And it's one of the things I loved about her was I was able to go into my sessions and talk to her about the psychology and realm X. And we were able to bring both together as this beautiful net of this beautiful woven healing journey that I was on. So in the healing garden, you see a lot of psychology, and it's not for everybody. Or I'm sorry, the psychology is it's there. It's in the open. This is what I do. But there's also realm X. That's part B. And yeah, this is the announcement that I needed to make. This is where I'm going with it is with part B. I've opened the doors. I'm a student in that realm, and I'm also it's bizarre. I'll have to get into it later, but I'm basically saying to you, if you want to partake in realm X, this is where you can find it. I'm going to drop the links down below. But it's not for everyone. And if you're not interested in realm X, please go away. It's that simple. If you're not going to walk in there with an open mind, if you're not going to walk in there with if you're just going to go there to label, I don't want you there. If you're there to learn, if you're there to explore, if you're there to learn alongside me, by all means, please join me over to Realm X. But yeah, and I know that there's a lot of, yeah, but what is Realm X? So this is where I'm just gonna, I can't say that Realm X is astrology because it's more than that. I can't say that Realm X is tarot card reading because it's more than that. I cannot say that Realm X is the Kundalini awakening or meditation or yoga or Tai Chi because it's more than that. And I cannot say that Realm X is Reiki because it's more than that. Realm X is all of it. All of it. It is the energy. The energy arts is what I call it. And it is astrology. It's astronomy. I study both. And I study how astronomy links to astrology and how it all comes together. It is how the cards and runestones read and divine the energy. It is how Reiki from Japan and Asia very much implement and use the energy. There's a lot of study in yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, including the I cannot remember the name of it, but all the India-based practices, religions, traditions, all of the Tibetan, it's all there. That's part of it. And I've spoken to people who just do astrology, or they just do tarot reading, or they just do, and I'm going, no, it's all of it. It has to be all of it because all of it is part of it. It's like I'm just going to study the toe. I'm just going to study the leg. I'm just going to look at the elbow. And I'm going, no, all of it. Look at the full body. So, and there's a divide. There is the divination of astrology, tarot, and then there's Reiki, yoga, meditation. And I'm going, bring them together, people. So that's what I do. I bring them together. But I go beyond that with my almost 30 years of psychology, sociology, and philosophy. I'm also looking at it going, okay, you have astrology, you have somebody who's a Cancer. And this is actually an area, I'm going to use the example of Aries because Aries is really, my ex-husband who is a diagnosed narcissist is an Aries. And a wonderful lady I just met last week who is an absolute empath, she's also an Aries. So I'm actually working on comparing and studying her personality and her trauma and how she processed her trauma in comparison to how my Aries husband processed his trauma, and how the two Aries personalities basically processed the same information and how they did it. It was basically, it confirmed that your astrological sign has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on how you process trauma, which is based on whether or not you are an avoider or a controller. Oh, I just realized something. Okay, so 34. I just realized that if you are a controller, you're going to fall into the narcissist category. If you are an avoider, you're going to fall into the empath category. And if you fall into both, then you are most likely borderline personality disorder. I am a huge believer that borderline personality disorder is the opposite of narcissistic personality disorder. I am a firm believer that if you don't that either you have a narcissist has narcissistic personality disorder, an empath has borderline personality disorder. That's my theory. Okay. And so far, every time I've spoken to anyone with borderline, every time I've worked with anyone with borderline, every time I've studied anyone with borderline, it is just a variation of narcissistic abuse syndrome. By the way, fun fact, narcissistic abuse syndrome and borderline personality disorder are not recognized as a legitimate medical diagnosis. So that's interesting, according to the CDC. Interesting. So I'm looking at this whole variation and I'm going, but narcissistic personality disorder is a legitimate diagnosis. So interesting, right? So I am a firm believer that someone with borderline personality disorder was made that way through narcissistic trauma, which is why they are both a controller and an avoider, which is why they have disorganized attachment style, which partners really nicely with borderline personality disorder, which is why they have similar traits to narcissistic abuse syndrome, almost identical traits, actually. It's astonishing. And it's basically a degree, okay, so if you got a little exposed to a narcissist, then you're going to be here. But if you got medium exposure to a narcissist, then you're going to fall under the narcissistic abuse syndrome. But if you were under their control day and night, night and day, now you're looking at borderline personality disorder. It's a spectrum. So that's just another theory that I have. I'm going to set that aside. So when it comes to realm X, I'm basically branching off. I'm going to do a whole thing on realm X, and that's all I focus on. And I stepped into the realm and I started talking to other people. I have an appointment tonight with an actual group of astrologers and sound healers. And I'm looking at them going, and this is something that I've noticed that I'm kind of like, there are a lot of people who dabble in just astrology, and that's all they do. And I'm going to go back to that's okay. It's not good, nor is it bad. And then you've got the societal conformists, the norm since the 16th century, all arguing that it's not legit, and they've got narcissistic labels for those of us who practice astrology. And then I looked into some of the scientific research that was done on astrology, and it was basically there's no scientific findings. And I'm going, yeah, but when was this research done? What instruments? And in fact, some of the instruments are actually proving that, yes, there is in fact an energy pool. And I have a theory that the energy pool, first of all, the energy pool does exist. In quantum physics, it's referred to as basically the vibrational frequency that we all sit in. It's the frequency that exists inside of us. It's all the electricity, the energy. And when you have the electrical energy inside of us, that's what our brains are. It's all electrical current, and that puts off energy. Our spinal cord is nothing but electrical current. Like, that's what the spinal cord is designed to do, is carry electrical current. This, when you take Hinduism and when you bring in the chakras, and it's not just India, it's the whole, again, anything that's not Western culture, you look into I can't say all Western because that's so it's very much Eastern. It's the Eastern culture where you very much see the chakras. It aligns with the quantum physics and the biology that proves that there is an electrical current that goes down our spinal cord. They are aligned. And there were two physicists that won a Nobel Peace Prize back in the 1950s that proved, hey, there is an energy pool present. Now, I believe that all of it, yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, tarot reading, astrology, all of it pulls from the energy pool. They just don't know it in some cases. In other cases, they are aware of it, and that's what they're pulling from. And then prior to that 1950s Nobel Peace Prize being awarded, it was basically a lot of discarded information, them saying, "Oh, no, 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 this isn't legit." But now we have bioenergetics, now we have physics, now we have quantum physics who are able to finally sit down and prove that there is another realm of matter and antimatter present, that there is another realm of frequency available, and that everything, sound, light, everything carries a frequency with it. This frequency gets a name of being referred to often as auras. And now all of a sudden the scientists are going, "Oh, that's crap." Well, no, it's an aura is absolutely an energy field around a certain person. And they're basically arguing what it's called. And this group over here is basically laughing at this group, calling them bullshitters. And I'm looking at it going, okay, an aura is the energy field. And you've got a lot of non-scientist people, people who range from absolutely uneducated to very educated to psychologists to degrees, all going, "Oh no, an aura is very much an energy field." But because it's not credible, because it's not established, it's dismissed a lot. And we have this massive, going back to that societal norm, the narcissist stepping up saying, "Oh, I can't use it, so it's not going to get a stamp of approval," rejecting realm X because they can't use it. So this is my official coming out video where I'm saying I am absolutely a witch, and I've dabbled, more than dabbled, dabbling is an understatement. There's living in the energy and working with the energy because I'm an empath, because I used the energy to survive for as long as I did. One of my favorite examples is, I remember I was 12, 13 years old, 13, 14 years old, and I walked into my bedroom and I stopped. I opened my mouth to speak and I went, "Something is wrong." Oh my God. It was the one time I walked into my bedroom and it felt wrong. So instead of talking to myself, because I had multiple personality disorder at that time, and that is what I did, instead of, I walked around my room and I started looking. I looked for 2 seconds and immediately went to my closet and I opened the door, and there was my narcissistic, abusive brother who had stepped into my closet. And I knew he was there. And I knew exactly where to look. That's the energy. So this energy kept me alive so many times. And so it's I spoke the energy, the language of the energy, long before I could speak English. I have stories from my mother, and she laughs about them and she doesn't understand them. But with my psych knowledge and now with the divination information that I have coming in, I'm going, that wasn't that's because my human design is a generator. Basically, I didn't speak for a long time. I was about a year and a half away late in talking because I grunted. I grunted. Human in the human design charts, generators grunt, yes or no, to communicate whether or not they want something. Yes or no. It's very simple. It's very basic. Every generator does this. We're grunters. And by the way, 70% of the population is a generator. So 70% of us grunt. This is like grunt, yes and no. So, but I was doing it like at birth. As soon as I didn't talk, I grunted. That's how tuned in to the energy that I was. Is that while everyone else was learning language, I was grunting with my human design, communicating through the energy. And it took my mother a lot to get me out of the, "Could you please use language?" And I was speaking the language of the energy. And it continued. There's like, I have so many examples like that from me. So I'm now learning the words and the vocabulary that explains what I've been doing for 40 years. So, well, not even 43 years. So now I'm going, okay, I have 43 years of dabbling in this thing, realm X, and I have all this information from my own experience for 43 years with realm X, and now psychology, sociology, philosophy. And I'm going to bring it out now. I'm now studying all the terminology, and all I'm doing is filling in the vocabulary. And I'm looking at it going, "Oh, that's what that's called." And I'm like connecting the dots, and a lot of stuff is making sense. And now my psych brain is going, whoa, this is like the other half of the coin. So now when I wake up in the morning, I'm going, okay, I have a feeling. I can tell you right now, this is grief. This is sadness. I need to take 5 minutes and just cry and acknowledge my subconscious and say, yes, you are sad because X has happened and you've lost this. It's okay. I understand you're sad. That cleans up. And then I'm going, okay, I'm feeling undefined in my core. My G feels like I cannot figure out who I am. I need to ground myself and remind myself of my identity. So then I pull in people from other sources. I do energy work to make sure that my grounding is stable. And this is where I think a lot of people, especially a lot of my clients and a lot of people who seek healing, they come in thinking, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm confused. I'm all over. And I can sit down and sort out all their tangle of threads. And that's it. Is mental illness is not mental illness, but our psyche, our hurt, our needing to heal is basically a ball of yarn that's all tangled in knots. And I know each and every thread. I can see each and every thread based on the symptoms and the emotions you're feeling. And I can pull each thread out and say, okay, well, that's this, that's over there. That's great. Now let's get the psych out. This isn't psychology. This is realm X. This is you not knowing what your human design is. And as a result, you don't know that you need to ground yourself. This is you being an empath, having an undefined G center and an undefined chakra heart center. As a result, you're picking up on emotions that aren't yours because you don't know your identity. Let's go back over to psychology. Because you don't know who you are, because you are an undefined identity, because your subconscious has sided with your narcissist and has betrayed you. You are not able to establish who you are. So now when you're over here in realm X and you're absorbing people's emotions, you don't know that they're not yours. So you're responding to people's emotions. You're responding to outsiders, not realizing that they have nothing to do with you. Once you work on your psychology and you figure out who you are and you get your subconscious back and you save your subconscious from your abuser and you have yourself all put back together again, you'll be able to sit down and go, who am I? And you will know exactly who you are. So when someone comes in and you know your human design and you know that you're going to absorb a person's emotions, thoughts, feelings, whatever, it's going to affect how you feel, but you're going to be able to separate you from other people and go, that isn't me. And I need to just give myself some space from that person. Yesterday, I was in a very much goddess state of mind, and I needed to just be in the nature, ground myself, and just take the pressure of the energy and the planets because, my God, it was a very difficult day yesterday. So I was walking in Central Park, and my daughter, who's a projector, not a generator, was standing next to me, and I kept telling her, "You're too close." Not COVID close, not COVID close, not, "Hey, I need my personal space." It was very much I need to ground myself and I'm absorbing you into me. And I can't have you do that right now. I need the space. So I had her walk like 6 feet away from me so that my aura had its birth so that I could ground myself. So I didn't have other people. And it was amazing. That was in Central Park, North Woods, by the way, when it was pouring rain. So there was nobody in Manhattan in my brain. I'm like, I'm alone in Manhattan. It was wonderful. And I was like, the only one there was my daughter. But then we got back to the street and we got over to 96th Street, got onto the subway, and I felt everybody just pour in. And I went, oh God, there's all those people. I can feel them in me. And I have an undefined G center, an undefined uh, crown center, and an undefined heart chakra. So I pick up and an undefined spleen. So I have, whenever I'm around a person, I pick up those 4 elements from this person. And when you have 5 people, I pick up all 5 elements from all 5 of them, or those 4 elements from all 5 of them. And now, because psychologically speaking, I'm so defined, I have the ability to sit down and say, hey, I can do this. Like I can definitely expand and broaden things. I now have the tools I need to separate my needs into 2 categories. Is this a psychological fix or is this going to be a realm X fix? So I am officially opening the doors to realm X. I'm officially stepping into this realm now and I'm studying this and I'm bringing this into psychology to show you. So when I sit down and work with a client, we're going to look at both sides. We're going to look at, okay, are we looking at the psychology? How's the psych? And it starts with the psych. You have to start with the psychology. One of the things I hate more than anything, it just makes me so angry. I will be talking to somebody and they will have done none of the psych work. Oh my God, now that I think about it, he didn't even know his zodiac sign. And yes, I am talking from one example. He didn't even know his zodiac sign. He has done no psychological work, but he went on his voyage to ayahuasca. So let me translate that for Realm X terminology. Going to the ayahuasca journey is equivalent to going to Mecca. It is the grand end, be all, end all of the energy journey. It's like climbing Everest. And if you don't have your psyche together, if you don't have all these other elements together, if you haven't even studied the zodiac, you really shouldn't be touching the ayahuasca journey. Ayahuasca is a drug that is illegal in the United States. You have to go to Central America to do this because it's illegal in the United States. And it's basically it's a psychedelic, but it's a very controlled environment designed to walk you through the healing stages. A lot of my friends do the ayahuasca journey, but they've also done the psych work and they've done the zodiac work and they've done realm X work. And now they've graduated to the final test stage, ayahuasca. I have not yet done ayahuasca because I have a lot of work to do. And then there's a lot of scams going on where you pick an ayahuasca journey and you're going to Costa Rica or you're going to Mexico. And I mean, you are going into some really shady places in South America. In some cases, they'll take your money and they will leave you stranded. I've seen it done. So there's a lot of work with the ayahuasca journey if you choose to do it. You have to make sure that, are you ready for it mentally? Have you done the shadow work? Have you cleared out your psyche? Have you done ABC? Now there's a lot of argument coming back where people say things like, oh, well, this helps with the healing journey. 30 years of psych. And I've seen it all. And I know the subconscious. The subconscious and I are very well acquainted. And the subconscious will do anything to protect you, including lie to you, wipe your memory, and take all of your skeletons and cram them into the 5th level of the subconscious. You don't know what you're dealing with until you've done the psych work, which is why I have a problem with hypnosis, is because you don't know what you're dealing with if you haven't done the psych work. So, in point of fact, LSD and mushrooms you don't touch those unless you've done certain shadow work. Because, and they say if you have borderline personality disorder, do not touch it because it could turn you into a vegetable. I've heard of it happening. I had a very close friend who had a friend who did. He explained how he took her into an acid journey and he had no idea that she had borderline personality disorder. The evening ended with her comatose, like vegetable, psychologically comatose, on an ambulance being taken to the mental hospital. She couldn't even speak. And he informed me that the last time she was there, like last time he checked in, she was not okay. I have heard where it doesn't end well. So the concept of doing an ayahuasca journey before you've done any of them, I don't know. No. And you get lucky if you do the ayahuasca journey and nothing happens and you haven't done the psych work. So yeah, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of people do not understand how the subconscious works, what it's for, what it does, and exactly how far it will go to make sure you are safe. So that being said, do not jump into an ayahuasca journey. Don't do it. Not until, in my opinion, you need to be cleared by a psychologist or a therapist. And you need to do a lot of work in energy healing. You need to get a lot of the realm X squared away. And you should at least walk in with your human design and your zodiac. Like I said, I asked him what his sign was, and he went, well, I have no idea. What do you mean, like my birth date? Well, I can tell you I was born in October. And I just went, anything else? And he goes, no, that's it. You just got back from a journey of ayahuasca. and you can't even tell me your zodiac sign. No business doing an ayahuasca journey. And in point of fact, he hired somebody who scammed him, took his car, drugged him up, and left him stranded. And I'm going, dude, no. And I'm talking to him, and he's only been dabbling. Like he, a year and a half ago, found, yeah, this is me very much strongly like bad monkey. What are you, irresponsible when it comes to his subconscious. Like he is so irresponsible with his mind. And that's really what I am huge on, is responsible healing, responsible subconscious. There's a lot out there. There's so much out there. And there's like this foundation of your subconscious and your identity. And if you don't know who you are, you have no business touching an ayahuasca journey. And so that's with the healing garden. That's, we have two schools. We're going to have, we officially have the school of psychology, and we have the school of the energy arts, and I do both. And the energy arts is not for everybody, and it is absolutely the graduation level. We start you with the subconscious, with the psychology. Once you reach a certain level of psychology, then we bring you over into the energy arts, and we start now. And I say that, but right off out of the gate, I'm going to tell you to meditate and do yoga. Right out the gate, I'm going to tell you to do Tai Chi, and it's preparing you for realm X when you're ready to step into the energy arts. So, I don't quite know yet. I'm learning, I'm thinking, and I'm still like, the healing garden is open, it's functioning, it's working, and I have programs, I have the consultation that I do. But the thing is, I also have a lot of, we're growing, and I can see how it's going to be in 5 years, in 10 years. I know what I want to turn it into, what I will be turning it into. And so there's a lot of growth happening. There's a lot of, I'm starting up a project. I'm going to set that project over there. Now I'm going to nurture this one, build this up, and I'm going to automate them and get them all running automatically so that you can all come in and just pick and choose your school, pick and choose your class, pick and choose what you need to know, and then going forward. So it's very much two sides of the same coin. So yeah, this was exactly what I needed to clear my head. This is it. That allowed me to get a lot of my own thoughts finally in order and out there. So I have a Facebook. I use Facebook a lot. I am all over the place. I have 3 accounts, and of those 3 accounts, I have like 20 pages, or not 20 pages, but 20 groups. And this is something else where I'm seeing what works, I'm seeing what isn't working, I'm deleting and I'm cleaning it out, and it's trial and error, and it's very difficult because while I'm doing this, I'm also still doing my own healing because I'm up at level 50 healing. So I'm because you don't stop healing. Just because I'm here doesn't mean I'm not doing me. Actually, I'm not. No, I'm healing. I was. No, I'm still healing. It's just it's not as intense healing as it was. So yeah, I think that covers everything. Take a look at the links below. I'm going to go ahead and provide you with directions. So if you want to follow me and start delving into the realm of the arcane arts with me, energy arts with me, absolutely. Realm X is going to be located over here. And so my Realm X is over here, and it's basically Facebook / Anna Imagination. That's it. It's literally Anna Imagination is the handle for my Facebook, for the Arcane Arts. And I'm still working on the branding and stuff like that. I have a very clear heading. I know where I'm going with it. It's just a matter of finally putting it together. So when I talk Arcane Arts, it's over there. And I encourage you, like, please, if you want to tackle both at the same time, great, absolutely great. But don't get carried away with the energy arts until you get stable with the identity. And that's my biggest. And I can hear it now where a lot of people argue, no, you need to start with it. And I'm going, no, you need to know who you are first. You need to know who you are. And that's it. Is your identity is the core of this. Because, and I have one lady, I love her to pieces. I love her. She's my soul sister. I love her so much. And she is in a very bad situation. I love her to pieces. but she's focusing on the energy arts and she's not doing the psych work. And I'm going, this isn't going to go well. She's living with a narcissist. She's very much in a narcissistic abuse situation every day. And she is in, like, I talk about the victim stage and the stages of healing and the stages of abuse. She's in stage 1 of she's not even out. She needs to extract. She's pre-extraction. Oh, wow. Yeah. She's pre-extraction. And so she can't heal yet. She has to extract and then start the healing. So she's being exposed to this narcissism still. She's currently in it, being reprogrammed, still being pushed through her. And she's dabbling in the energy arts. And I'm going, and she's doing it for solace, for comfort, which is great. She's using it for self-care, which is, she's on the right track. But it's not going to go very far because she still has this toxin that's being dumped into her system. And that's it. A narcissist, an abuser, is very much a toxin that's just injecting you with poison every single day. And that's just it. That is what it is to be pre-extracted in your abusive situation, is you have the exposure to this poison. It's like in the movie Sixth Sense, when that girl is always sick and you find out that it's because, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the movie in the last 20 years, you find out that she's chugging, that her mother's been feeding her chemical cleaner. And eventually it kills her because she's getting that daily, by the way, that's a narcissist. She's getting that daily dose of, wow, I just went into a whole psychoanalysis on her mother. Okay, yeah, definitely narcissism requires the attention, requires to be the center of attention. So she wants grieving children in her life to have the attention and the empathy coming at her. So she's now the center of attention, and she wore a red dress at the funeral because she has to be the center of attention. And now her younger daughter, her youngest child, is getting sick, and it's because she needs that center of attention so much that she's poisoning her children. Yeah. Narcissism. It's a killer. So, like I said, just these are the resources available. I need to have like a be all end all of, like, I don't know. I'm going to redo my website. I got to figure stuff out. But and the fact that you're already here and you're already in this, like, you're in we're going through growing pains. You're in the early stages. We're going to figure all this out. It's all going to like click into place. It's going to be awesome. And then we'll really take off. It's just letting you know and getting this information available to you, or out there and to you, as soon as we can. So, and we as me, I'm a one-person team here. Like, I have no staff yet. So it's all me. So links are below if you want to learn more. That is really the takeaway. Links are below if you want to learn more. This is Anna Imagination. Take a look at www.annashealinggarden.org. And thank you so much for joining me. May the kindest of words always find you.